to your Pelvic Health Podcast. My name is Susan Winograd, owner and founder of Pelvicore Rehab, and I am thrilled to be your guest. This episode is really special to me because I am always searching for ways to find resources for my male clients, and it can be challenging sometimes. So my guest today, Michael Hodges, is my number one resource that I send my clients to for pelvic pain and healing. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Susan. It's really good to be here. And thank you for sending your clients to the work that I've created. And it's an honor that I even get to help anyone.
It is. It's an honor for me as well. And I am so grateful that I have the opportunity to thank you in person, or so to speak. I feel like now we say on Zoom is in person, but it's really not. But it's nice to see you face to face and kind of put a personality and a real face to someone that I've been talking about for a long time. Michael, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I would love to, if you feel comfortable, sharing a little bit of your journey with our listeners, because I will say that so many of my male clients ask me, can you connect me with somebody that's gone through this and has come out the other side? And your story is a story of healing, and I'd love for you to share it and how you came to develop a course and sort of commit part of your life to this.
Absolutely. This is really important because whenever you are in the throes of the pain and the despair, you just want to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I was looking for that. I was searching on the internet. I was looking anywhere I could because my doctors, my practitioners, none of them had actually gone through this before. I didn't know anyone personally. I mean, every single person that ever asked me what was going on didn't know what pelvic floor dysfunction was. It's not that common still. We don't need to make it a common condition, of course. So we don't
Correct.
need to do that.
Correct.
But as I was going through it, for me,
we don't need to make it common. I don't mean to interject. We certainly don't want it to be common, but we want it to be a conversation that happens if it needs to, so that people that are in pain don't feel like they're the only ones on the planet going through it. So open conversations like this are brilliant for other people.
I agree with that as well. Yeah. So for me, it started off, I felt like my testicle had flipped after having sex one day, which is the initiation event, right? Everyone has their story of like, oh, there was that day where I started having this pain or this or that. And we'll get into that later on probably. But after that, I started to have pain in my perineum. It started to get a lot worse. It got to the point where I was just searching everywhere for answers. I went to 3 different urologists. I got antibiotics given to me. I got all the typical things that I hear guys tell me. And Western medicine just didn't really know what to do at that point. I went internally and did everything I could to purify myself. I was like, I'm just going to heal this myself. And I did a lot of different practices. I did acupuncture as well. I did yoga. I did meditation. A lot of things that are right and useful, but it still wasn't clearing out. I went to physical therapy for a year. It was helpful. I got better, but still had a lot of issues that were coming back. And it was just a long road of learning and discovery. And I thought that, a year in, I'm finally going to get over this. 2 years in. For me, it was a 5-year-long journey. So it was very challenging. Wow. I just wanted to be able to move my body, exercise, be able to, pee without taking 5 minutes to start the flow of urine, be able to have sex again, play with my kids and things like that are just normal. So very challenging, very close to suicide type moments that took place during that journey for me. And I definitely had no idea I would be working in the pelvic health space. That was not part of my life plan. But this was one reason why I experienced it. For me, it was more of an awakening and a depth that I had to go to realize some things about the truth of myself and the truth of all of reality. And all those things I'm very grateful for. And I learned a lot along the way. I learned what didn't work. I learned what does work. The mind-body side is by far the most important, which most people are probably coming to terms with unless they're newer in this.
Yes, I'd love to dive into that at some point, because I think, I say this all the time on the podcast, but at Pelvic Core Rehab, our mission and we know that the framework of how we typically treat persistent pain is no longer really, and that we really need to use a biopsychosocial approach or a mind-body approach. It's the only way. When did you start realizing that this was a lot more than just a physical issue? That was more than a tissue issue?
Yeah, a tissue issue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that maybe a year after it started. So it wasn't too far into my journey that I had an awareness there has to be some sort of emotional or energetic factor that's causing this. And I wanted to get to the bottom of that, get to the root cause. And I would have, I thought I was going to get to the root cause faster, but it just took a while. There's an unwinding of the ball of yarn that was spun together over a long period of time. And this is what's often misunderstood, is that it's not just this acute instant that took place in my life. There were years building up to that chronic condition that took hold. So it can take some time to reverse it and to change who you're being. And you can't go back to the life that you had. People are like, I just want my life back. Well, if you want to be the person that you were prior, you will create the exact same type of imbalanced condition. You can't go back to who you were being before.
That's so profound. I've never heard it articulated like that. And it's so profound. And it's also so interesting that the thing that's most difficult for you probably in your life was your pelvic pain journey helped you become the best version of yourself, which is difficult in a way for people to wrap their head around. But it's true for so many people.
It's interesting. Yeah. And it absolutely is true. Everyone who's on the tail end of this will say the same thing. They're like, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm actually really grateful that this happened in my life. And I have guys that have dealt with pelvic pain for 33 years sometimes. Yeah. I mean, extreme situations, and they're still grateful. For me, I had an idea that the greatest version of me was something where I'm achieving and I'm making huge impact in the world and heart-centered service. And these things sound wonderful and they sound heroic and meaningful and magnanimous. But what I wasn't realizing is that the greatest version of myself is being fully present. It doesn't matter what happened in the past or what happens in the future. I'm okay right now, and I'm joyful, and I'm happy, and I'm loving, and I'm all me, all in right here, right now. Yeah, that is actually the greatest version of myself.
That is, and I think that is part of the healing process, is to sort of, be grateful and joyful about where you are now, and sort of be present in the moment, right? And then know where you want to go. A lot of people reflect back and they look at what they could have done, should have done, what they were. And I think when you are able to be in that space where you have, present moment, acknowledgement, then you can really live your best life. I completely agree with that. So tell us a little bit more about your healing journey from, I know your journey was a 5-year process, but how did you get to the point where you were, it's a long process. I know that, but I know that your healing journey was so much more than stretches or, just your typical manual work. I know that you do so much more than that for self-care and healing. Can you tell us a little bit how you came to wrap your head around the fact that it was so much more than musculoskeletal and that you really had to dive into the mind-body part of it?
Yeah, definitely. I can talk about what I did in my own healing and even beyond after I healed pelvic floor dysfunction, what's happened since then.
Please.
For me, yes, I definitely did do stretches. This is how I met Dr. Brianne Grogan, who's an awesome pelvic health expert, and we created the program together. But I found her stretches. They were feeling really good. I did them every day. That was one thing because it relaxes the nervous system. It's creating fluidity in the muscles, and it's releasing the tension at a mechanical level. So clearly, if you get back into the same mental, emotional imbalances, et cetera, you're going to create the same tension. But the fact is that is a therapeutic approach that would help me start my morning off in a positive way.
Right.
And then beyond that, yes, I would do meditations as well. I would I was eating a clean, quite a restricted diet because I was removing things that were inflaming the symptoms because I just wanted to reduce flare-ups as I was recovering. And I was doing these things in combination with visiting a natural doctor for a period of time. He was doing a chiropractic adjustment. He did some acupuncture, some muscle testing. I think that was just nice. Again, I worked with different practitioners along the way, but he was like the last person I worked with as I was healing. He had a well-rounded amount of knowledge in different areas of Eastern and Western medicine. And this is why when you work with someone in person or online or just having someone who cares for you, it really does make a difference because you feel like you have a partner in this.
Yeah. What I tell people, and I don't mean to interject, is that the best service and the best thing that we provide for our clients is mentorship and support and encouragement and empowerment and education. They can go to anyone for the hands-on stuff. So many of us are good at that, but it's that mentorship, that support, feeling like someone's got your back, feeling like someone's really quarterbacking your care and trying to connect the dots and put the pieces of your own unique puzzle together.
Absolutely. And I think this can be looked over sometimes by people who are scouring the internet and YouTube and Reddit, and they're like, I'll just figure this out myself. You absolutely can understand the information and begin to integrate it. But having a coach in any area of your life in which you deem important enough is worth an investment of some sort.
Completely
so there was
agree.
that. Yeah, I would also say the biggest mindset shift that really helps me to, let's say, fully heal, if you want to use that term, because I felt like I was like 80% better, 85. There was definitely still like some symptoms here and there, and it just really wasn't clearing out. I had this mindset where I told myself, I'll do whatever it takes to get better. I'll do whatever it takes to be 100%. Because at this point in time, I'm like 27 years old. I'm in my 20s. I've been dealing with this for, from like 22 to 27. And I was like, I just want to be able to live life this way. And I had this resistance and this attachment to needing to be how I was before, with my strength, with my body, with my erections, with just the way everything was working. And I finally let it go. I was like, you know what? Today is okay. Today is okay, just as it is. I'm going to exercise and eat healthy and just live my life today. And that's actually what paradoxically allowed me to fully heal.
That's so profound. And one thing that I would add to that is that you have to live side by side with things that you want to change, but also appreciate the present moment, consciousness, right? And do everything that you need to do to heal 100%. But it's not only about doing the stuff, it's believing that you can heal. Because so many of my clients, and I wonder if you struggled with this as well, so many of my clients are like, I will do anything you tell me to do. I will do whatever it takes. And I say, great, that's amazing, but you also have to believe that healing is possible because your brain believes the story that you tell it. So you can do all the things, but if you have this, belief system that your body is damaged or you're not going to be able to heal, then you won't.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that because I think it's a perfect segue into something I wanted to talk about, which is I myself did have a belief. I had a full belief I could heal myself, for example. And I was a doer. I was like, I'll do whatever you tell me. I'll make the checklist. I did. Trust me. I had long checklists. It's like stretch in the morning, take this supplement, do this. I did it every day. I wrote it in a journal. I would do whatever it takes for something that's important to me. And the other guys that I work with all typically fall under the same personality type category. Yes. They're also doers. They're figure outers. They're fixers. Mm-hmm. So even if you 100% believe and you've absorbed all the information and you 100% do constantly, you're creating resistance because the aspect of you that needs to shift is the aspect of you that has so much control over the outcome.
Yeah.
And this is actually what, in many cases, the chronic condition is teaching you, because whenever we have pain or dysfunction, it's a message that's asking us to change something about ourselves.
Yes.
And being a constant doer means that you think you can figure it out. It's a huge amount of imbalanced masculine energy is the way I'd describe it.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And what I mean by that is masculine energy is progressive, forward moving, action oriented. Feminine energy, which we all have feminine and masculine energy. There's
Correct.
no misunderstanding with that. It's not about gender.
Yeah.
The feminine energy is the womb. It's the fluidity. It's all possibilities are there, but there's a rest and there's a movement in a slower form.
Right.
And when the two combine, it's a really wonderful balance. So the guys that I work with, I find that they, fall under a very similar personality type of, I'm a doer, I'm very responsible, I'm very conscientious of others.
Yes.
I'm quite anxiety oriented. I see that a lot. Warriors, thinking about the future often, and being perfectionist. These are guys that have great hearts. They're really good guys. They want to help others. They want to do good things in the world, but they have trouble just relaxing and slowing down. They have trouble just having fun. Like I literally had to learn how to have fun. Like I didn't really know how to do it very well.
Do you know how to do it now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
A lot more so.
Good. Congratulations. Life is better
really
when
nice.
you can have fun, right?
Life is better when you can have fun.
I was talking to one of my mentors, and I can't believe as a pelvic floor therapist, I never thought about this, but I was, when I was going through my journey of transitioning and fully immersing my practice into a biopsychosocial approach, she said, Susan, didn't you ever think about why people who typically get pelvic pain are type A personalities? It's, people call them a tight ass, right? Because it connotes that they hold tension. They have a hard time letting go. So I thought that was so interesting. I never really thought about where that terminology came from. But yes, I do 100% agree with you that it is a personality type. And I also find, and I'd love your input on this, that those personality types, a little more anxious, a little more detail oriented, a little more perfectionist, they have a hard time wrapping themselves around the fact that this may be more mind-body or somatosensory dysregulation or a nervous system sensitivity because they're fixers. And, it's so much easier to hold on to the idea that we can massage a muscle or manipulate our spine or do something to make it better other than, sort of changing the pathways that we've integrated so strongly.
You're so right, because the doer wants to solve. And whenever you tell a doer, by the way, to fix this, you have to stop trying to fix this. And you have to know that you're actually okay because you don't have any structural damage in your body. This is a mind-body syndrome that you're experiencing. It's neural circuit pain and neural circuit dysfunction that your nervous system, your brain is causing, and it's being propagated and showing up in manifestations. If you teach someone that's the hardest thing, for them to sit still in non-resistance.
Yeah.
Using somatic tracking, just reviewing and observing non-judgmentally, which is actually how you show your brain safety. You need to change out the messages of danger to safety and let it know everything's actually okay right now. Because that underlying anxiety and stress and pressure on yourself and personality tendencies, these are not fixed traits, by the way. People are like, this is my personality. It's just how I am. Actually, these are coping mechanisms that were created earlier in your life based upon your environmental factors.
Yeah, they're learned behaviors, right?
Yeah, of course. They are. A lot of people don't realize that. So I think it's important to point that out. You're not gonna lose these beautiful, positive aspects of who you are as you heal and you step into this greater version of you. Those qualities will actually just be more enhanced and illuminated because these other aspects of you that are really not self are starting to be let go of because you don't need them anymore.
Right. And, just as you're talking, there's a million things that I am trying to control myself and not interject too much as you talk, but I have so many thoughts flying around my head. The first one is, there's evidence-based research to show that people that have a high degree of worry or catastrophization don't have as great of outcomes to heal long term or within a year. And the reason for that is because when we're worried, when we're constantly trying to do something or figure out how to make our lives better, or am I going to have to live with this pain, you are constantly strengthening those painful pathways. You're constantly bringing your nervous system back to that thing that your nervous system is on high alert about. So what you just said is another beautiful way of saying that, is that we need to let go of it, and we need to learn how to say, it's okay, my body is safe. And just from a tissue issue perspective, your tissues heal within 12 to, okay, I'm going to give it a little more time. 16 weeks, right? We'll give it that much. But within 12 weeks, your actual tissues, the injury or whatever has triggered it, should be healed. Doesn't mean that you don't have tension. Doesn't mean that we don't need to let go of anything. But people that have had injuries years ago still attribute their present pain to that injury. And I think that's something that's a little hard to unwind. And, one more thing, just in regards to what you said before about doing everything that you can, but not being attached to the outcome. I talk about Hal Elrod way too much in my podcasts, but maybe I'll take a break after today. But, one of my favorites and something that I've included in my own daily affirmations is that in order to accomplish something, you need to have unwavering faith and put in extraordinary effort, but not be attached to the outcome. And I think that's the tricky part. That's the part that really takes training. It takes practice to integrate that.
It does, yeah. I like to say that you want to use your spiritual willpower, which is committed to who you are being, versus traditional willpower, which is committed to what you are doing.
Right. Absolutely. That's beautiful. Michael, I know that you collaborated with Dr. Bree in your Overcome program, and now you have this amazing I don't know if it's new, actually, your Overcome, your Transform program. Is that? So
Transform is just the name of the organization now.
Okay, got it.
Since I run the organization separately from Dr. Bree's organization. But Overcome is our pelvic and urinary healing program.
Okay.
And then we have a program called Vigor Sexual Strength, which actually helps men who are dealing with ED and premature ejaculation. Okay,
that's amazing. And how do you feel that it's best for people to do, your Transform program in conjunction with like the stretches and the exercises? Tell us a little bit about, if someone's listening to this and they've had persistent pain, and most people that have had persistent pain have been to 7 to 10 doctors already. Where would you tell them to start today? What would you tell them to do?
Right. I mean, they need to understand, first of all, that this is a mind-body issue, if they haven't discovered that yet. If they've been to 7 to 10 doctors, I'm assuming that there hasn't been a very concise structural diagnosis that's taken place.
Correct.
Which is good, right? That means that their body's actually okay. I love Unlearn Your Pain by Dr. Howard Schubiner.
Yes.
I love information that teaches you about neural circuit pain and neural circuit dysfunction. That's empowering.
Yeah.
And then from there, I mean, yes, like in our program, we help you it has 4 steps in it. Realize, reprocess, release, and reprogram. And that's really the core of what we're doing, is the brain retraining. But alongside it, we have movement tools that Dr. Bree helped with. These movement tools are really, really good. Mm-hmm. Every single week, we do have a movement routine that is good for biomechanics and calming the nervous system. We have trigger point releases and deep relaxation poses. What we do is we give you tools that help you to feel better and that help your body to open up and create more fluidity. But I make it pretty clear that these tools themselves they're not actually what's fixing or addressing the root cause. That root cause does need to be brought forth and discovered inside of yourself. So we help you to do that through the program. Whether you work with our program or we have like a 7-day free kickstart, which has a lot of information in it, or a YouTube channel, or reading other books. So I wouldn't want someone to be overwhelmed, but it's the most important thing you can do is to realize that your body is actually safe and then begin to reprocess. Reprocess means that next time you feel the pain or the symptom, it could be urinary frequency or urinary hesitancy. It could be a symptom that's not pain-based, actually. But whenever you're experiencing the symptom, instead of getting scared and going back to the same thoughts that you've always had, you do this powerful act where you can take a step back and be like, you know what? I'm just going to watch this. I'm just going to notice it. Okay, so like there's a tightness right there in my pelvic floor. That's okay. It's happening right now. I'm going to take some breaths. I'm not even going to try to make it go away. I'm just going to create some space with a non-judgmental curiosity. And if you do that and you could remind yourself, this is actually just a mind-body syndrome. My physical body is totally fine. My body is safe. My body is safe. I am whole. I am okay. And you can give yourself messages of safety. I call it self-soothe plus the truth.
Oh, I love that.
Self-soothe. Yeah, you want to soothe yourself as if you're soothing a child that's scared.
Yeah, because you are. That inner child is scared. I might steal your terminology, but in our practice, we say, when that happens, get curious about it. Just get curious about it. Try to, acknowledge it. You don't have to ignore it because you really feel it. Acknowledge it and then get curious about it. And then see if you can, give yourself messages of safety, because our first instinct is to put our foot on that gas pedal and go into complete fight or flight. And that's what we need to slowly train our nervous system to take our foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah, exactly. And when you learn more about the science behind it, the information, the central sensitization, and you understand that your nervous system is so much more sensitive to triggers than normal because of what's been taking place. You can have compassion for yourself and know that that's why this is a trigger for you. Like, it shouldn't be a problem to sit down. Shouldn't be a problem to masturbate or to eat this or that. So knowing that, and then we would move on to the next step, which is release. Because emotions that are stuck, repressed, suppressed, that are not being fully felt, do create danger signals for the brain and create more sensitivity to the nervous system. Most of the guys that I work with, or a lot of them at least, don't seem to be very connected to their emotions. And they haven't really learned that. They haven't even thought that it's important. They just see emotions and physical body and mind all in different categories, and they're not.
Yes, I agree. So many of my clients, they have a really challenging time with one aspect of it, like meditation, for example, and we're very, very individual when we do give meditations. If someone has difficulty with stillness, we'll give them a qigong. If someone needs yin yoga or connective tissue release, and everyone says, I'm not good at meditation. And what I say to them is, meditation is a skill. Just like anything else, it needs practice. Your brain's not going to integrate something as meaningful unless you do it over and over again. Sometimes people have a really challenging time overcoming their worry or, kind of living side by side and acknowledging or being curious. What was the most challenging aspect of it for you? And what's the number one tool that you use to overcome it?
I would say the most challenging thing for me was whenever I would make some progress and seem to be getting better and then have a big flare up. It would knock me back. So that will shake you mentally, even when you seem to have had good strength and mental stability day by day. So whenever that did happen, I would go into a meditation. I like to do guided meditations or just turn on music and relax and chill out. And I got better at that. And that ultimately is a skill, like you're saying. Yeah. Even the ability to turn to meditation instead of medication, whether the medication be in the form of pharmaceuticals or alcohol or pornography or whatever it is. Yeah. So that's actually a victory in its own right. because you're taking back control and your own sovereignty. You're re-bringing your energy back to yourself. And I know a lot of people do have challenges. They have a misunderstanding around what meditation is, I think. They're like, meditation is where you sit still and you don't think at all. And that is one form of meditation. But I like to recommend breath work quite a bit for people who have trouble with meditation. All you do is you press play and you breathe along with the audio.
Yeah.
It feels really good.
Yeah.
Relaxes your nervous system. It's really easy to do. People who have trouble with meditation love breath work, and it's a good bridge to the other meditations.
I could not agree more. There's one, I should know his name by now, but there's a monk that has a YouTube channel, and I don't know. I love his video, and it's like, it's all about how everybody can meditate even for a minute. And it's all about just acknowledging the breath in and acknowledging the breath out. And I've sent it to so many clients, and I am a little bit obsessed with breath. I think that you can change any system in the body using the breath, and certainly the nervous system. There's an amazing book by James Nestor called Breath, and it's absolutely phenomenal. But the breath is a great way to sort of tune in to what's going in your body. And I completely agree that there's more than one way to meditate. And usually I think any form of meditation is not easy for someone initially. It's the practice over time. I always tell my clients, Tibetan monks who sit in the mountains and meditate all day, I highly doubt that they were great at it from the beginning, but they are constantly practicing it, integrating it. Things that are worthwhile take time and practice and mindfulness. Absolutely. How has it seems, and, correct me if I'm wrong, that your view on healing in general has really evolved over time. I've been watching you for quite a while, Michael, and I really should get a commission for all the guys that I've recommended to you. I'm just kidding. They keep tabs on you for me. I'm like, how's Michael Hodge's program growing? And they tell me what month they're in and what stage they're in. So your work is absolutely phenomenal. But how has your overall view and philosophy on long-term healing changed over time from when you started your journey?
That's an excellent question. And I think it's fun that the guys that you're working with are like in the program telling you about it. And
I know everything about you, Michael. I got you. You know that song by Sting, Every Step You Take? It's about a stalker. That's me stalking you. I think he wrote about that.
That's funny.
I'm just kidding. We're having fun, Michael.
We are having fun.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of gratitude for you sharing the work that I'm doing. And also,
I have gratitude for you for developing it, because there's not enough of you out there.
Well, and I was about to say, even if there's not a commission coming from me right now, the universe is always giving you a commission, Susan.
Correct. I am totally kidding about that. The commission is the work that you've done that helps me to help my clients.
No, of course. I know that. That's awesome. I was going to say it's evolved a lot, because early on, at the tail end of my healing journey, I think it was in 2017 I believe it was 2017, Dr. Bree interviewed me on her YouTube channel. And just because I had made a comment on one of her videos, and she was like, this is a really great comment. This guy, I really want to talk to him. She interviewed me. I just told my story. I'm like, I just want to share and help, because that was not happening very much. It still hasn't happened that much. And I put my email address in there. I was like, if anyone needs help, email me, which is really funny. So every month guys were emailing me.
Wow. I
would go on calls. I would send them videos. I was just like, this is a form of service. This is wonderful that I get to help. And I wrote a long document of here's what you should do. And I mean, at the time I was a martial arts instructor. I had created one of the world's first online martial arts universities. So I have a lot of experience teaching and creating methodologies and educational frameworks. I was like, I could just put together what I know to be true for me, my greatest level of understanding, at least, into some sort of videos or a course and get it out there. But initially I wasn't trying to. It was just, there was something in the back of my head and in the back of my heart that was saying, like, I'm supposed to help in this way. And I was like, we'll see. And then one day I was meditating And in my meditation, it was like very clear. You should create this program to help men heal their pelvic floors, but with Dr. Bree specifically. So I reached out to her. We had not even spoken. We had like a couple of emails in that one interview. This was 2 years later. And I pretty much pitched her this whole idea in one 5-minute video. A few days later, she's like, yeah, it's a yes. I just know it's the right thing. And it was a perfect cooperation and co-creation. And we got it out there. So initially, I was newer to, the PT land model,
Right.
The physical therapy or physiotherapist model of pelvic health. And she had a pretty holistic, more outside the box approach, which I appreciated. I learned a lot working with her, and it evolved my understanding as an experiencer. So I brought a lot to the table by really viscerally experiencing it, and myself just being a devout mind body healing student, and a student of spirituality. And like, I really care about all of these things. But initially, my perspective on it was probably a little more driven on the mechanical side. I really thought the tension is being created. We've got to let go of the tension with mechanical physical therapies. That seemed to work. It does work, but we have to, now I've gone to the next rung up, which is that this is the way I'll describe it too. Then I'll describe it as I have this pyramid called the root cause pyramid. So if you can see it on this top of the pyramid, it's pain. That's at the surface. That's the tip of the iceberg, right? The very tip of the pyramid. That's what you see. It's like, wow, this hurts really bad. There's pain. Underneath it is dysfunction. There's dysfunction in the nervous system that can be causing the pain, but also other forms of dysfunction, such as urinary, urgency, frequency, erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation. And if we go underneath that, there's tension. There's musculoskeletal tension that's actually causing this and interrelated. But what's causing the tension is an upregulated nervous system. And so I've kind of gone down the pyramid. Yeah. That's been my evolution, has been going down the pyramid. Go ahead.
God, no, you go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
I was more at the tension level initially and really working it out through there. And you do get results. I mean, it really does work, but to a point. And then I moved down to nervous system. Like, let's really calm the nervous system. Let's do all these tools. Let's also, reset the gut. Let's look at the gut-brain connection, all of this. And now I went all the way down the very bottom of the pyramid is the root cause. The root cause is personality tendencies, stress, anxiety. We're looking at really what's causing all of this.
Yeah.
And that's where I am now. The newest version of my program, which actually just released 2 days ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
You'll tell us about it at the end and how people can find it. I kind of knew that you were going to answer that way, and I was hoping that you would, Michael, because I think first of all, as an experiencer, you have such credibility. I can direct my patients and guide them and mentor them and coach them, but I have not had the same experience as them. So when I tell them to take a look at your work, you come from a place of so much credibility as being an experiencer. That's number one. Number two is, I think your work is so important, and where you're at now in your journey and how you've sort of brought the whole mind-body thing together, because I really, like, as I said, have immersed my practice into let's dive into the root cause. And I do use the pyramid analogy, but I use an iceberg. It's so interesting. We're just coming from at it with different visuals. I say, the top of the iceberg, that little tip, the pain, that's what you see on the surface, but there's so much more that's underneath that we have to uncover. And I think that my clients coming to me as a physical therapist, and I really try to minimize my hands-on work with them and empower them to do as much as they can by themselves, but they have a really hard time letting go of the idea that it's so much more than the physical tension, that probably the physical tension is a manifestation of their nervous system, right? And of course, we want to make the disclaimer that we're always ruling out musculoskeletal stuff, right? The first thing we have to do is do a very thorough musculoskeletal assessment, make sure there's not something that is a root cause there, but usually there's not. And they have a really hard time wrapping their head around the fact that their nervous system is really what is the root cause that's driving all of this. And when I direct them to you from a level of experience, they're like, he's gone through the whole journey. I'm not quite 5 years deep in. Maybe I can cut to the chase a little bit and learn from what Michael went through. And one thing I want to say is I ended up reaching out to you recently because one of my dear clients, and he's going to know exactly who he is when he hears this podcast, I said, oh man, I would love to get Michael on my podcast. And he's like, reach out to him. He's so accessible. I always email him and he always gets back to me right away. I'm like, oh, wow. I feel like you're a celebrity. So like the fact that you just answered my email, I think is like so cool. So I appreciate that you have sort of gone through that journey. You've come from a place where like, I got to get rid of the tension. And then you've evolved to this place of, there's so much more to that. And I think you can help facilitate and expedite people's healing and allow them to go more directly to that root. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It can really be powerful when you speak to someone and work with someone who has been there where you've been in, and also practitioners like yourself and others who have not personally experienced it can do amazing work still.
Yeah.
But if you can point out a resource, like, hey, by the way, there's this video or this person out there, just want you to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that there's this other guy who also had trouble seeing past the structural issue. He thought that there has to, because trust me, especially early on, even later on, I'm like, God, there must be something wrong with my body. Like, how is this still here?
Right.
The symptoms are very severe. They're very real. But your brain can create any form of pain or symptom. Your brain does create all pain anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's created by the pain.
Yeah. One more thing before we go to takeaways. So many of my clients, have sort of this mindset that they're going to come to physical therapy. They're going to do what we tell them to do, whether it's, from a biopsychosocial approach, whether it's meditation or exercise or stretches or manual work or remapping exercises, and then they're done. And it's hard for me to it's not difficult for me, but it's hard for them to understand sometimes that there is a certain level of maintenance that needs to continue once you're healed. Like you said, you're not the same person that you were before, and you may throughout this journey have implemented more of a self-care routine, or have continued to do a meditation, or start journaling, or have affirmations or breathing strategies or grounding strategies. Can you speak a little bit to that, and what changed about your own self-care that you are like now that helps to maybe put a flare at bay, and that you find helps to keep everything optimized that you didn't realize may be a part of the equation before?
Yeah, I love this question. This is the question that I wanted to ask someone whenever I was getting better and like closer to the end. I was like, okay, so what do I need to do to make sure this doesn't come back? Because that was hell and I don't want it to ever come back. And there's a big misunderstanding in this area. You don't have to do something specific just to make sure it doesn't come back. It's not that I've got to do these exact stretches and eat this exact diet for the rest of my life so that I don't get pelvic floor dysfunction again. And trust me, if you tell guys that, they will do it.
Yes.
Because they're like, it was so bad. The thing is, what you need to do is move your body in a healthy way, because it's good to move your body. You need to eat clean, healthy foods because you should nourish your body. You need to live in joy because you need to be happy and experience joy. Now, in terms of practices, if you realized that this crazy mental activity and inability to feel your emotions caused your physical suffering, you probably shouldn't return to that. So if certain practices helped you to clear it out, such as meditating, that created space and it created some separation between my thoughts and myself as the consciousness, I should probably still do that, keep practicing it. And it feels good. It feels really calm and relaxing whenever I do that for myself. Maybe yoga or stretching or movement in some way just feels really good. Keep doing something like it. but don't do it from a defensive standpoint.
Right.
Do it just because it feels good. And then I want to point out that everyone is still going to have pain sometimes. We're human beings, and we should. Pain is a messenger that something needs to be addressed, but no one has to experience chronic pain.
Yes, that's brilliant. And I completely agree. And I appreciate you saying that. I always say, it's like, your self-care practice and how you continue to live your life is like yoga. To me, everything's like yoga. Like you've never arrived at your yoga practice. It's called a practice because you keep evolving, you keep practicing, you keep feeling different things. And, we always continue to do it. We've never been like, oh, I could do an inversion. Now I'm done. Right. It's not like that. And healing and self-care is not like that either. Michael, you're amazing. If you had a couple of takeaways, what would be some takeaways that you want to leave our listeners with? And I say listeners because I think your work is so relevant for men and women and whoever else is healing from pelvic pain, however you identify, because I love it that you've created a program for men because men want to, so many of men that I treat are like, I want to speak to another man who has gone through this. But, when I listen to your YouTube videos and when I listen to your work and I listen to you talk, I'm like, this is so relevant for everybody. But a couple of takeaways. What message do you want to leave everybody with?
Oh, absolutely. I'll share a few final things, and it is relevant for anyone. I work with men specifically, so they create more of a connection and understanding, and they feel safer, etc. But yeah, it's relevant for men. I would say women as well, of course, and dogs, but dogs aren't in their head very much, so I don't think they have.
That's right. My dog always looks like she's meditating, so it's all good. I think
dogs are okay.
Yeah.
I want to say first thing I want to share is just to give people hope. You can absolutely get over this, and you will be experiencing an incredible life, one that you didn't have before. It will be even greater. You'll be more peaceful, more aligned, more your true self. Yes, I can exercise again. I did heavy deadlifts yesterday. I have amazing sex now. I ate bread this morning, which I was afraid to do for like 6 years. I just want to point out these things do happen again.
Yes, thank you for saying that.
Like, yeah, life is going to be incredible, and life is incredible today too. So appreciate what is here now and know these things are also possible for you. And the other thing I want to say is this will be a little unexpected, but if you're like, what should I do today? Like, I heard a lot of different things. You're not going to want to do this. But what I recommend is put a 5-minute timer on and put a piece of paper in front of you, like a journal and a pen. Just close your eyes and turn on the timer for 5 minutes and do nothing. Just sit there for 5 minutes with your eyes closed. That's it. You could call it a meditation. It's not. It's just sit there quietly for 5 minutes.
Yes.
When the timer is up, write down everything that came into your mind and any emotions that you felt. That's going to show you, that's going to illuminate more of the root cause in a faster process than I could in any other way.
I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start today. I think that's brilliant. I practice visualization every morning. So for 5 minutes, sit quietly and visualize exactly how I want my day to be, how I want to feel, but I don't write it down after. I think that's brilliant. Thank you, Michael. Michael, I absolutely know that people are going to want to find more of you. Can you tell us where people can find more of you, where they can find you?
Definitely. Yeah. So on YouTube, Transform Men's Pelvic Health. We're on Instagram now at Transform Pelvic Health, on TikTok. So those are some places to get some really great resources, meditations, routines, information about mind-body healing. And then there's the Overcome Pelvic and Urinary Issues program. It's a 12-week fully guided program where it's not just an online course. You actually get support from myself, coaching, guidance along the way. And that's a great option. Like, you're working with guys, you can be going to physical therapy as you're doing the program. You can work with a local practitioner. It gives you that guidance and support, something structured to do.
Absolutely. A lot of the men that I treat come see me regularly. And I think the fact that they have you as someone to look up to, as you know, they've come out of it the other end and is even better, is a tremendous asset for me to tap into, and a tool for me to help facilitate their healing, for them to I don't heal them, they heal themselves, but to guide them. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for everything that you do as a pelvic floor therapist who treats all genders. I am forever grateful for the work that you do and the way that you articulate things and the way that you are committed to helping other people. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for allowing for this conversation, and it was an honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Your Pelvic Health, where we give you the real lowdown on all pelvic health matters. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, and don't forget to give us a 5-star review so we can bring you other information that you want to hear. If you found this episode helpful, please tag someone and tag us as well. And remember, in order to heal, you need to be your own best advocate and use a whole body approach to healing.